I'll start with introductions for staff. Today we have Danielle Cooper, myself, I'm the operations manager. Nathan Hughes, technical manager, Marks Queen, technical and facilities specialist. We have Vicki Nichols, CFO, Mary Jo Beck, office specialist. And I'm not sure if we have staff online. And Brody, do you want to start out?
Sure. Greg Brody, Vernonia Fire.
John Carnahan, Vernonia Police Department.
Josh Marks, Campus Fire. Jeff Richards, Campus Fire. Ron Larson, Campus PD.
Online. You read them for Joey.
Yeah, we have Brian Pixley, Bruce Holsey, Chandra Egan, and Kendrick Leverton.
The first item of business is the approval of the October 29th minutes. You guys had a chance to review those. Someone would like to make.
We need to make an amendment to meeting minutes. It shows that I'm not at the meeting, but if you look at the first motion, I was the person that made the motion. So I was most definitely at the meeting.
Yes, you were. Sorry about that, Jeff.
Oh, accidents happen.
We can, you can approve them as corrected.
Good eye.
Then I will make the motion to approve as corrected.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Vote. Do I have to call for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Begin again. Hearing none, motion approved. Thank you, Reggie. Next on the agenda is the appointment of committee members and alternatives. I think I need a motion to.
No, you don't need a motion. Oh, if you don't mind.
Yes. please.
I have down, I've spoken to Bruce Halsey and he has given me his alternate. Does anybody have any changes to their agency as far as their representative or their alternates at this time? Hearing none, we can just move on to the next thing.
All right, next up is operations report. This one I can handle. So most of the updates that I have for you guys is hiring. It's something that we've been focusing a lot on, and we always have been, but we really ramped up and expedited our processes. We had 2 new communication specialist entry levels start on January 6th, and they're through in-house academy and are with their trainers. We have 3 more that are looking to start. It's looking more and more like March 1st for all 3 of them, and then 2 more after that will start probably beginning of April. So with all of those starting, and if they all make it through training, that brings us to full staffing at 17. We have 1 of our staff members currently that's at DPSST and is graduating this Friday. She was our 10-year veteran that had some time off in between her last job, so she had to go back to the academy. We're always hiring laterals. So if any of you guys know of anybody that would like to jump over to another 911 center. The lead dispatchers have been really stepping up, and you've probably been hearing more and more from them as we're all wearing multiple hats these days. They've been really picking up and doing a lot, and so we're grateful for them. We are getting more certified trainers from our staff. Got someone in that process right now. And Kirby has been picking up engagement with the community and been in the high schools. She most recently did the fire science class at Scappoose High School, and it sounds like it went really well. She felt really good about it, and that she was well received and that the students were engaged. And that she's doing that also with Vernonia Schools, and she's looking to also participate with Clatskanie. It's been a really great for everyone. We did have a change in the electrical panel work that they are going to discuss during their update portion of the meeting, but I wanted to take an opportunity to remind everybody that I did send out an email. Some of you guys have already responded to it. It's just really vital that I have your point of contact person for the duration of the work, and it's going to be on February 5th. For operations, do you guys have any questions or anything you'd like to discuss? All right, equipment and technology briefing.
So as Danelle said, the electrical work was delayed. The reason it was delayed is we were adding more capacity to our UPS to carry us over while we have no power whatsoever and they're hooking up the generator. Our goal was to have at least 2 hours of runtime on our UPS to power the facility,
What's UPS stand for, sorry?
uninterrupted power source.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a grunt.
It's a big battery. So the cord that connects it to the extra batteries we got was not the right cord. We had to get it from across the United States. There was delays. We almost were able to go live or do the work, but we had to delay until we got that cord in place. For Magix, the mobile design group has decided to move forward with the mobile UX, which is so there's classic mobiles, mobile UX, and mobile X. Mobile UX, we have to go to so we can start migrating our users over to a new authentication system and still have LEDs work. The law enforcement side still needs a patch for their LEDs returns, but fire, we're very slowly rolling it out to test. Columbia River, I believe, has a couple of units that they're testing right now with the new design. For our radio sites, shortly after midnight on December 26th, we experienced a radio outage that lasted until approximately 7:30 a.m. This outage affected most radio traffic. Columbia Heights and Quarry Hill experienced power failures and operated on generator power during this time. Power Systems West inspected Quarry Hill generator and determined that the generator controller malfunctioned after noticing it failed to start, errors being logged. They provided a quote for approximately $8,000 to replace the controller. We are proceeding with that replacement. Columbia Heights, we suspect, had a power surge, and we're thinking it's from a lightning strike. So the hardware had to be physically reset. And the large outage time was because Day Wireless was having to drive between Columbia Heights here and Vernonia to go to all the sites and figure out what was going on. We originally suspected it was one issue, but it ended up being two. We are working with vendors to get quotes for remote monitoring of our generators and fuel tanks so we can get quicker notifications and know more about what's going on at our radio sites. We've also been working with security vendors to update outdated security equipment at our sites. Any questions?
I think the only question, and I've shared this concern with a couple of the staff members here. In the past, we've had communications about notifications to agency heads. We need to make sure that happens. In order for us to support our communities and help support 911, in the event you may need some extra support, at least on the fire side. We don't know if we need to send a fire liaison to dispatch, if it's just limited to, our on-duty crews, which unfortunately happens every once in a while. So I know there's a way to do it. It doesn't have to be immediately, but I mean, at least in the first hour, once the balls are in motion to try and solve the problem, making sure that, the sheriff, fire chiefs, emergency management, people know. That would be helpful.
No, I appreciate that. As you know, it was like at midnight and all night type of a thing, and I do wish I had done that in that first hour, and I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
That's why we have these meetings. And again, we're here to support each other. It's not like, oh God, you failed. It's okay, what do we need to do to help? Because at the end of the day, if there is something going on in one of the other parts of the county, having those conversations with Chief Brody, he could say, hey, maybe we need to shift an engine up here or whatever. Based on a potential weather threat or something else. So it's more than just dealing with the radio. It's us being able to start working outside of CCOM to help each other out.
Appreciate that. That's valid and definitely make that happen in the future. I appreciate it.
And then can I talk about the net motion stuff?
Yes, please.
So this is just a discussion we wanted to have with you guys and get your input on. Our net motion hardware is up for a refresh. And we are debating whether or not to do the hardware refresh or see if your agencies can support your own VPN. Most agencies in this county have a tunnel to our firewall, which allows MDT traffic if you have it. And most agencies also have a VPN at their station that they use for other things that could include MDT traffic. In the long run, it'll probably be cheaper to host your own VPN, but we just want to get feedback on whether or not you want to host your own VPN for possibly less money or continue going through us. Right now, each computer is about $140 each per year.
Would you be able to put a briefing paper together for the different agencies that we can utilize to talk to our IT outfits so that when we're looking at expenses or looking at what we have or may not have, we can have constructive conversations. And I know it's extra work. Sorry to ask you do that, but you explaining nuts and bolts in technical terms will make it a lot easier for us to give you the answers that you need.
Okay. I agree with that request because my comment for my notes is sounds like IT conversation with our input. I know what you're saying to an extent, but I don't know what that means for Scappoose PD entirely. So some of the things you said, I believe are correct. We have a firewall, our own VPN, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
how does that interact? Thank you. That's pretty.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely agree with that request.
Yeah, maybe one conversation you got with your IT in the meantime is, hey, Columbia 911's floating the idea of putting the VPN on us. Do we have the hardware in place to support that? And that's really our big question right now because we did renew the license for this year. So none of this has to happen tomorrow. We still have another year, I think, till March 2026.
Yep.
To make a decision. So, yeah, but we can get something out to all the chiefs and they can disseminate it to their IT.
And just for my sake, if you could put the cost that you just mentioned, because it like went in one ear and out the other, but if I can see it in black and white, I'll be able to, again, answer your question. Would it be cheaper for us? Would it be cheaper for you? Do we need to have conversations down the road of partnership?
Yeah. And I mean, like some of our thoughts were if the sheriff's office wanted to set up their own server and start charging for licenses, that could be an option. The smaller agencies, if they wanted to team up and have their own little VPN server. I know some of our agencies don't have the hardware in place currently, and we're trying to be respectful of that. So, very good question. Anything else?
Moving on to the director's report. As you guys know, Brian Burright is our current interim. He's working mostly like 3/4 time, and him and I are still sharing a lot of the workload, so to speak. So he is at another meeting and absent today and asked me to fill in. So as always, thank you for your patience. I really haven't had very many opportunities to thank you guys as a group as well over the last year. There's been a few times that I've been filling in as executive director, and you guys have always been very gracious and helpful and supportive, and I appreciate it. I'm going to relay some of Brian's update from the most recent board meeting for the Meisner construction project. The district is in the final phase of the Meisner construction project. The scope of work that is left under contract with Bay Wireless is to complete the removal of the old shelter and wood poles along with a few miscellaneous items once that is complete. For the remaining work to be completed, the district has to reestablish conversations with parties who have passed and future interest in co-locating equipment at that site. So we are here.
You're doing a great job.
Day Wireless recommended that the existing battery bank, part of the equipment that was left, including the procurement of the new and used shelter, should be reevaluated for replacement. The future batteries are showing, the current batteries are showing visible signs of deterioration. Additional information on the need and cost of replacement is going to be brought to the board in the future. The district continues renewed conversations with Columbia Amateur Radio Group and Hood to Coast to finalize a co-location agreement with them. Negotiations will include potential fees for the tower and shelter use and equipment installation costs. The district is continuing to work with ODF legal counsel to update the original co-location agreement between those two parties. Any questions that I might be able to answer about the Meisner construction? The Next Gen Radio project, based on the uncertainty of the next operation tax levy, the subsequent delays in the Next Gen Radio project, it seems prudent to turn our attention to the district's current radio system and evaluating, identifying, and providing cost estimates to what upgrades would be required to assure higher level of system stability. The board's approval was requested to pursue the means of how we can gather this information and present the findings at the February and March board meeting. Questions out? Community outreach, the next quarterly newspaper is in final draft. And it was scheduled for January 17th. Did it actually go out?
It was looking like it would probably be dropped to the public that first week in February.
Okay, looks like it's gonna go out the first week in February, so keep an eye out for that. Our meeting with Coastline was scheduled to discuss the continued outreach efforts and build out a schedule of community and stakeholder meetings. I know one was held this morning. Brian met with Kiwanis.
Daybreakers.
The district has also agreed to sponsor a promotional package with Kohai in running some scheduled ads. The cost for that, $1,600 and 10% discount. It is reviewed with positivity and supported by the Coastline PR Group as an important part of the ongoing community outreach and educational efforts. Brian, as the interim director, has met and will continue to schedule meetings with each of the agency leaders if he hasn't already met with you and elected officials throughout the county. The permanent director recruitment, Brian has had contact with regional PSAP directors to initiate meetings that will be scheduled throughout the end of January and February to discuss share information regarding the executive director's position at Columbia 911. The purpose of those meetings would be to identify qualified candidates that might be interested. Mike Fletcher's participation and knowledge of possible candidates in the region and beyond will be valuable during the phase of this process. On January 20th, a meeting was held with George Stunkel with SEAO and a third-party management team who specializes in executive search and placement. The proposal was presented during the January board meeting to review and discuss options for different phases of the recruitment and assessment. A tentative timeline for the process was presented for discussion at the January board meeting. So that ball, Brian's been really great getting that ball immediately moving. That is what I have for the bulk of the director's report. We are also giving the advisory committee notice that we are starting to work on budget, and we are welcoming any input or suggestions that anyone from the committee has. You can email them or contact Mickey or Mary Jo or I or Brian, the other Brian, too many Brians. Sir, welcome to the meeting. And that was the director's report. Here is we did approve the minutes and we did our.
We got a round table then?
Yep.
All right. Round table. What say you?
I'll start off. First of all, thanks everybody for coming and thank you for your hard work. And you guys have been through a lot here and all that. So it's definitely, it's nice to see that you guys are holding things together, even when we have, our radio problems, things like that. You guys did what you had to do to get us back up and running. So it's much appreciated. I can tell you that. I would just like to, I hope this doesn't go too long, but I'd just like to bring up a little more discussion. Reading your emails, having personal conversations with you, but once again, I just want to get in my mind regarding the upcoming power replacement situation here. What is our both our best case and our worst case scenarios that we'd be looking at in terms of how it will affect us as users?
They're gonna chime in immediately if I say something out of turn, but best case scenario is you won't notice anything has happened at all.
Okay.
Worst case scenario is that our dispatch center goes dark, and we've had conversations and a set up precautionary plan to have Lumen transfer our 911 lines immediately to Washington County. I'm going to have in place both myself and Kirby. We're actually going tomorrow morning to do kind of a dry run and make sure that we have all of our systems set up there so that we'll have 2 Columbia 911 dispatchers sitting plugged in at a console at the beginning and duration of the entire work at Washington County, just in case. In that case, I'm gonna meet with Corey and have another discussion, but if we do go dark, a notification will be sent out to the public, giving them an alternate non-emergency number and assuring them that 911 calls are still being answered. We will not be able to rely on radio communication. We will have CAD. We will already be in place, and with CAD, an active 911 will still continue to work. That will not be affected. Yes, please.
If we do lose power, MDTs will go down though.
NDTs will go down. So it's what it's going to look like in that worst case scenario is that we, still Columbia 911 dispatchers, will be taking that 911 call, and we will contact your identified person by phone, and we will support you the best that we can over the phone, but you will be dispatching your own resources.
You said the radios would be down?
Potentially.
Worst case scenario,
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, yeah.
you'll be dispatching your coppers by
Cell
cell phone.
phone, like line of sight would work, or L4, or what are we saying?
Well, that's actually
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. That's like,
Sorry,
It's just, we won't be able to dispatch you by radio,
yeah,
because we won't be able to hit our towers from Washington County if this site goes down. If this site was up, Washington County could hit our towers, and we've actually done a dry run of that. And they could broadcast over, but yeah, without.
I'm just trying to come back from the worst case scenario a little bit. It's like I've had to run dispatch or whatever through the fire department, Rainier PD, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. It's not an uncommon thing for someone to sit there and take your phone calls, use the radio in the station to dispatch themselves, run around log. Is it possible that you would want us to run a log in a certain format, so when we give it back, you create CADs, or do you just want us to log it ourselves and just keep rolling with it? If we're dispatching from our own center.
I would suggest that you log as much information as you can. I've had a verbal conversation with the chief of every department advising, and I've gotten great participation in absolutely minimizing any high-risk activity, even on the fire side, like not doing your live training during this work. Just if you guys are trying to check if your ladders work, maybe not during that. We're trying to just minimize risk, just so that we can support those things that we can't control. Those are the real-time emergencies that just hit us.
So I guess maybe just feed off of what Sergeant Larson was saying. In theory, the simulcast system won't go dark. You can't hear anything here. You go dark here, but the simulcast system will still be up. So if I need to talk to Brody, we can talk to each other. If I need to talk to Klatsk and I, we can talk to Klatsk and I, in theory.
In theory. I'm not saying it's going to work. Direct line of sight should work. But yeah,
We'll just have to do an ICS system real quick. I think fire knows how to do that. You think?
we're still working on some of the bugs too.
just like
Yeah.
remote dispatch agency has each other. It's just phone numbers.
After my meeting tomorrow morning at Washington County, which again is gonna be in person, Nathan's gonna be there, their technical department is gonna be there, and their operations leadership is gonna be there. I'm gonna finalize our incident action plan and send it out to all of you guys, and that's a full week ahead, so you guys can look at it, pick it apart. You know, give me a call, we can talk about things. We are planning for just worst case scenario, so when Nathan was saying in theory, we don't want you to plan on 100% relying on that and then be surprised. So make sure that your point of contact, I know I have a broken record, whoever your point of contact is for your agency, I need that person to be holding a working phone in a good self-service area the whole time. And some of you, that might just mean appointing someone else in your department that does kind of just sit there. If everything goes smooth, Kirby and I will be getting, you know, some of our extra work done while we're sitting up there at Washington County. But I will be available and have my phone with me. If we go dark, if that worst case scenario happens, we are dividing that contact list that you guys have given us for your agency, and someone that works here, either one of the dispatchers that are sitting here, Kirby, myself, or one of them, is going to call that person and notify them. We are executing the plan and we are at Washington County taking calls. There's 2 higher risk kind of periods during the work. It's towards the beginning, it's towards the end. It's when the disconnect and the reconnect happen. I will be very happy to get this all done and behind us. And I think that Merckx and Nathan have spent so much time on finding every precaution and UPS batteries and generators, and coordinating people being here on site to bring everything back up when the work is done. This is not a common occurrence. This is really we've never had to do anything like this before.
Part of beefing up our UPS was to give us time if something goes wrong. So originally by itself, it's 15 minutes of runtime to allow the generator to kick on. But since the generator will be out of the loop, we're adding those 2 hours so that if something out of the blue that we're surprised by does go wrong, we have those 2 hours to figure out a solution or revert the work.
It's not as scary as it sounds. Like I said, I've done it at 3 different agencies. And
I don't know, I'm a little scared.
I mean, just can be. No, I mean, long term, sure, but you know, just for a few hours or 8 hours, it's not that painful.
Yeah.
But, okay.
On the law enforcement side of it, though, you guys have excellent, you know, go-getter police officers out there. Just maybe give them a project to do for a little while.
Don't worry about it.
We're probably gonna, keep around, double up all of our cardiac there,
That's a great idea.
just so in case shit does pop off. Things do pop off, then at least they have built-in cover.
Yeah.
On the fire side, one of the things we might talk about as chiefs is we have sort of a backup to the backup for radios. We utilize the Zello platform, and that allows folks to communicate via VoIP. And the VoIP goes direct into radios, so that could be an extra tool for us. And even if the radios go dark, we've got a couple Zello channels that we use for deployments and configurations that folks can utilize as long as it's connected.
The one bolt I'll throw into this thing is the meteorologists are talking now about the potential of a weather event. If it is, that is happening and things are kind of going crazy, would that be a reason or a reason to delay this program, this process?
I would imagine it could be a factor if it's enough of a risk. We will definitely have those discussions with the people actually doing the work as well. You know, we definitely don't want to put anyone in increased danger or create a situation where we're trying to do the work during.
What kind of weather event you're talking about?
Imagine snow. Okay. Other than that, I will just say that, as the fairly new chief up in Vernonia, I've received wonderful support from everybody in this room. Thanks very much for that.
Does have anything for the roundtable? I just personally want to say thank you to you, Janelle. You've been a really great communicator. And same with Brian. So thank you guys for being as transparent as you can and working with us.
Thank you.
Nothing else, guys? All right. Guess we're done. We need to have a, do we just adjourn or do we need to have a motion?
You can just adjourn at the time.
Guess we're adjourned. It's 12:32.